we are watching one of the most dangerous standoffs of the 21st century reach a genuine breaking point. Iran's senior military brass are openly warning that renewed conflict with the United States is, in their words, likely, and they've made clear they're fully prepared for American foolishness after President Trump rejected Tehran's latest nuclear proposal and signaled military options are firmly on the table. Trump, for his part, says Iran hasn't paid a big enough price for 47 years of aggression. The stakes here couldn't be higher. Nuclear capability, regional war, and America's credibility as a superpower all hanging in the balance at once. Joining me now are Marcus Webb, our defense and security analyst, and Sophia Reeves, our economics and markets editor. Marcus, let me start with you. Is Trump's rejection of Iran's proposal a moment of genuine strategic courage, or is he walking us toward a war nobody has a plan to finish?
Thanks, Emma. Look, let's be absolutely clear about what we're dealing with here. Iran is not a rational actor in the Western diplomatic sense. It is a revolutionary theocracy that has been in a declared state of war with the United States since 1979. They stormed an embassy. They killed American soldiers through proxies in Iraq. They armed the Houthis, who shut down global shipping and cost the world economy an estimated $200 billion in rerouting costs alone. And the response from Washington for decades? Appeasement with a diplomatic bow on top. Douglas Murray has said it plainly. The West's greatest strategic error has been the failure to impose genuine consequences, and he is absolutely right. Trump's rejection of this latest proposal isn't recklessness. It's the first coherent signal Washington has sent in years that there is actually a bottom line. And here's the uncomfortable thing the foreign policy establishment won't tell you. The IAEA has confirmed Iran is enriching uranium to 84% purity. Weapons grade is 90. They are one technical sprint from a nuclear device. You don't negotiate your way out of that from a position of weakness.
But Marcus, isn't there a real danger that Trump's "they haven't paid a big enough price" language is exactly the kind of provocation that gives Iran's hardliners domestic political cover to refuse any deal at all? And Sophia, what's your take? Is the economic pressure actually working? Or are we past the point where sanctions alone change Iranian behavior?
Well, look, I think Marcus is completely right on the threat, but I think he's underselling how complicated the economic picture actually is here. Here's the data that matters. When genuine maximum pressure sanctions were applied during the Obama era, Iran's oil exports fell by roughly 60%, and that is what brought them to the table for the original JCPOA. The economic lever works when it's applied properly and consistently. My concern isn't Trump's rejection of this proposal. My concern is whether Washington has the institutional discipline to maintain a coherent economic pressure campaign without leaking concessions every 6 weeks. Biden's team spent 3 years essentially telegraphing to Tehran that America desperately wanted a deal. And when you tell your adversary you desperately want something, you've already lost the negotiation. The real question isn't military options versus diplomacy. It's whether the American government can execute a sustained, disciplined economic strategy without the foreign policy blob undermining it from within.
I hear what Sophia is saying, but with respect, that misses the point entirely at this stage. We are not in a sanctions versus negotiation timeline anymore. The IAEA timeline says Iran could achieve nuclear breakout in weeks if they chose to sprint. Weeks. No sanctions regime operates on that timescale. And let me tell you what's really going on. National Review has documented the Red-Green Alliance operating inside America, the convergence of hard-left networks and Islamist sympathizers who have spent years creating domestic political constraints on any administration that wants to take a hard line. That's not a fringe concern. That is a structural problem inside American civic life. Iran knows it. They factor it into their calculations. Every time a protest erupts on an American campus demanding no military action, Tehran's hardliners get a data point that tells them American resolve is softer than its rhetoric. The economic argument is fine in theory, but Iran has demonstrated it will absorb enormous economic pain to preserve its nuclear program because that program is theological, not transactional.
Here's what I want to know, and I want both of you to be honest about this. Are we genuinely 6 months away from either a military strike or a nuclear-armed Iran? because those seem like the only two destinations on this road right now. Sophia, where do you see this playing out?
The way I see this playing out, there are really three plausible trajectories, and none of them are comfortable. If Trump holds firm and the economic pressure is maintained with genuine discipline, not the half-hearted version, there's a real historical precedent for Iran negotiating seriously when the pain becomes unbearable. That's scenario one, and it's not impossible. Scenario two is that negotiations drag on indefinitely in that twilight zone of half measures. Iran's program keeps advancing quietly, and by the time Washington acts decisively, the window has closed. That's the trajectory I'm most worried about right now, because it's the path of least political resistance. If current trends continue, where rhetoric is tough but the diplomatic process drags, Iran crosses that threshold while everyone is still talking.
Here's what concerns me most, and this is the scenario that keeps serious security analysts awake at night. Israel is watching this clock, and Israel will not wait for American consensus to form. Israel's entire strategic doctrine since its founding has been that it cannot afford to absorb a first strike. If they calculate that Iran is weeks from breakout and Washington is still in negotiation mode, the trajectory suggests Israel acts unilaterally. And the moment Israel strikes Iranian nuclear facilities, every Iranian proxy from Hezbollah to the Houthis to the Shia militias in Iraq activates simultaneously. America gets dragged into a multi-front conflict, whether it chose to be there or not, without a clear objective, without an exit architecture, and with a foreign policy establishment that will immediately start screaming that it's all Trump's fault. That is the real risk here. Not a war America chooses. A war America stumbles into because it delayed too long.
Two of the sharpest minds on this program, and neither of you is offering me a comfortable answer, which probably means you're both right. Marcus Webb, Sophia Reeves, thank you. One thing's certain, somewhere in Tehran tonight, someone is deciding whether America has finally grown its spine back, and the entire world is riding on that answer.